Well, hello once again. It is time for a rant from the Midnight Skeptic. And here I am, full of vim and vinegar tonight. The Midnight Skeptic, this show will be broadcast on Sunday, the 8th of September of this year, at the usual time, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm recording this on Thursday, September 5th. Yeah, 5th. And right now it's kind of late. It's about 7:30. And it's just time that I have when I'm not researching or watching my lefty propaganda on TV that I can do this. So here I am. Okay. I'm jumping for joy, really, at this latest poll numbers, these latest poll numbers for the November 5th election, presidential election. Harris and Walz have the momentum. And the orange sociopathic bloat bag is losing the support of even some Republicans, actually quite a few Republicans, and extremists like Nick Fuentes, who is a horrible person, a complete product of hate and intolerance. Let's put it that way. Okay. In my own small way, and believe me, this is a small way, via this program and my YouTube broadcast, I hope to help rid this country of all MAGA heads, Christian nationalists, generic Republicans, conservatives, and everybody who has brought about this era, beginning in about 2014 or 2015, when the orange sociopathic bloat bag followed his rent-a-wife down the golden escalator at Trump Tower in New York and declared his candidacy for the presidency in the 2016 election, and then proceeded to disparage immigrants, Mexicans in particular. They don't send us their best people. Okay. Well, we coughed up like a hairball our worst person, the orange sociopathic bloat bag. So, having said all that and begun my rant, here is the play-in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, Tuesday the 10th, which is coming right up around the corner, is going to be the so-called debate. And both parties have agreed to mute the microphones of the person who is not scheduled to be talking. If they were not muted, I'm sure that the orange sociopathic bloat bag would just be constantly interrupting Kamala Harris and and just lying through his ass. Okay? So, having said that, I'm looking forward to that debate. She's going to wipe the floor with him. Okay, now for the shout outs. And number one on my shout out list is Mickey Huff of Project Censored. And I got to congratulate him for being promoted. I think it is a promotion to be the distinguished director of the Park Center for Independent Media at Ithaca College in upstate New York, near Cornell. And Project Censored has been going on since, I think, the late 80s. I became aware of it because I decided in about 1999, I'm sorry, to return to college to get my master's in history at Sonoma State. Well, from the history department up on the second floor of the, God, I can't remember the name of the hall. Anyway, not important. Down the hall was Peter Phillips, who was one of the original founders of Project Censored. And he used to leave his door open all the time. And when I left the history office, I'd walk by there, stick my head in, and say, "Hi, Peter." And, we got to know each other sort of by doing that. And we and some others went out and had a beer afterwards, after, classes were over and things. And I was, in my early 50s at that time. I'm quite old to go back to school full time. But anyway, I did. Okay. So Project Censored, I became aware of it then. And then I can't remember how I became aware of Mickey Huff and his two other dudes having kept it alive and having more to do with it than Peter Phillips did. Peter has since retired as I think, a political science professor from Sonoma State. Okay, Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth are Mickey Huff's cohorts in putting out annually the State of the Free Press, and whichever year it is. Right now it's 2024, but State of the Free Press 2025 is at the printers as we speak. And they have a newsletter once a month. So go to their newsletter, projectcensored.org, and check them out and sign up for their newsletter. And if it so moves you, order their latest book. It's chock-a-block full of good information. Okay, locally, John Crowley, the godfather of Aquas Cafe. It's a good cafe down in the Foundry Wharf district on the corner of 2nd and H. They are going to have another dinner for retired educators. And I went to the one they had last month, or month and a half. I can't remember exactly how long it's been. But there was about 20 of us there. And I didn't recognize any of the educators, retired teachers, that came to this thing, although I met a handful of them. And we had nice conversations and things. And I was never a teacher per se, paid, by a school district or anything. I was a private tutor. And I started, along with my wife, Patty, she started it, actually, just helping the neighborhood kids with their reading and arithmetic, second, third, fourth graders. And well, they get older. And at the time, I had a job, good job, paycheck and benefits type job. And I had afternoons off. And then I had a second job, part-time, later in the evening, like 11 to 6 in the morning. Okay, so in the afternoons, I would tutor some of the kids who by that time were in high school, Casa Grande, Petaluma High, and a few from St. Vincent's. Anyway, so I loved doing that and doing that job. Well, my wife passed away in September of 2013, and I liked the job so well that I kept it alive. And with the help of this girl who we hired to help us out, and Patty, in her last years, was getting kind of not able to be a good tutor. So, oh God, I'm winging it as if you guys couldn't tell, and I'm having a brain freeze on the girl's name, and I know her quite well, except for her name. Damn it. I hate these brain freezes, but it happens to the best of us. Anyway, after she quit our tutoring, after about 4 years, she was hired by Santa Rosa Junior College as a tutor in their tutoring department. And then she worked her way up to be the head of the tutoring department. Okay. Wish I could remember her name. I can't. So onward. So I consider myself a retired educator, and I will continue private tutoring after I get done with all of these now minor things that are kind of wrong with me. None of them are serious, and I'm going to get over them all. And right now, I'm going through a radiation therapy or treatment for not a serious case of cancer, which I had taken care of because I had a growth on my right ear, and it's called Mohs surgery, M-O-H-S. He was a German doctor who this procedure is named after him, but my Kaiser surgeon, Mohs surgeon, did it and got it all out, all of the growth and the cancer cells, but he recommended that I also have radiation treatment, which I am going through right now. And I'm halfway there. I have 2 more weeks worth of this zapping treatment. I go up to Roanoke Park to the cancer center, and my doctor up there is a Kaiser doctor, so he has all my, records on his computer there. Anyway, enough of that. That was more of my personal history than I had intended to relay to my thousands and thousands of listeners and viewers out there. Tom Gaffey, locally at the Phoenix Theater. He is sort of the godfather to a lot of alternative teens that go there and hang out, play games, and also skateboard a lot. And Mina Stess, a local Petaluma girl, she's 18 now, but she was a good skateboarder and showed up at the Phoenix Theater every now and then. She did most of her skateboarding at our local skateboard park, but she made the United States female skateboarding team, and over in Paris. She did not make it to the finals, but there's always 2028 down in LA for the next Olympics. Okay. Ralph Scott, who is a audiobook uh, recorder, and he has a small stable of voice thespians and used to be the godfather of the Petaluma radio players. Uh, and we would go down, well, we would rehearse at this place called Work Petaluma, which is a shared workspace downtown. And we used to rehearse down there and then put on radio plays sometimes at the Petaluma Hotel in their ballroom. And it kind of folded right around the time the COVID-19 was breaking out and causing all sorts of close downs. Okay. And Ralph calls his business Squeaky Cheese Productions, LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. And he tried to resurrect it after the COVID went away. Well, the COVID has not gone away, but it's less than it was. Okay. And, okay, so I don't have my notes with me, so I'm going to be winging this for my shout-outs. Okay, Dave and Rosie in Sacramento, and Kevin and Lori in Cotati, Stan and Kathy in Pacifica, Dennis and Megan in Tiburon, Rich and Kathy over in Sebastopol, Yvonne and Rick down in San Francisco. They're down in Cabo San Lucas right now on a 1-week vacation, along with Kevin and Lori in Cotati. Yeah, have fun down there. And Aunt Jackie and Samantha and her husband and little boy. She occasionally, rarely, but listens in. And then Melanie listens in, but she's living in Austin, Texas, down there. And Arkansas, Shannon Reed, and over in Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell. Nelson is a retired United States Public Health Service officer. He gives me a lot of hints about what I should be talking about. That, you know, he's science oriented, which is antithesis of Republican thinking. Okay, and over in the east side of Florida, Amelia Beamer. Check her out on YouTube. She's the spokesperson for Locus, Locus magazine, and they review books concerning the 3 genres of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. The horror. Okay, and then up to North Carolina, where Dr. Dave hangs out, lives, and enjoys life, and is involved in democratic politics. And he is a retired pulmonary physician, and he worked in his last years for GlaxoSmithKline, and he used to set up studies about the effectiveness of drugs that they came up with. And he retired from them, and now he's heavily involved in his art, painting mostly, and he has a very strange take on reality. I don't think he would dispute me about that, but check out his works at David Rubin Painting, I think .org. And he showed his stuff up in Chicago at the Lost Artists Collective. And I think he must be back now. So anyway, Dave, look out for all these hurricanes that are coming your way, and floods and heavy rains and all of that. And up the coast to Long Island, Gerald Goldfinger, And back in Sonora on the West Coast, Robert Finnegan, I hope to see you on the 8th of October. And Bob and Sandy Fisher, and Brad and Martha Fisher, and Darrell Larson, the bronc rider from Sonora High School, and Judy May, Kathy Francis, and Lynn Quayle. She must be back from Manhattan by now. She has to spend 6 months living in her rent-controlled apartment back there. You know, that's what you have to do to maintain the rent control. Okay, and up Highway 108 to Twain Hart, John Gleason. Okay, and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer, listen in occasionally, very occasionally. And then all the way down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. News. Good, sort of. This is, I guess, what you would call the meat of my rant. Okay. News. Good, sort of. 62% of men 18 to 29 are single. And 34% of women in that age range, 18 to 29, are single as well. Okay, are there more lesbians than I thought? Actually, I'm just joking. Actually, there should be more women who love other women. The world, I think, would be better off. Excuse me. Okay. Water sip, water sip, water sip. I mentioned work Petaluma. Well, this is their, stainless steel water glass that I got from them. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, the world would be better off if there were more women who loved other women and made sure that men kept in their place. Good news? Maybe. Chinese scientists have created so-called living plastic that self-destructs when it begins to degrade. They embed plastic eating bacteria in it. And then, but when somebody's through with drinking water out of a plastic bottle made of this stuff, it will degrade, and the embedded organisms that these Chinese scientists have come up with will hopefully return it to its original state in nature. I have my doubts about that, but scientists all over the world are trying to deal with this problem that this planet has with too much plastics. I'll be talking about other things concerning plastic later on in the show. Okay. Good news. The employee, federal employee, at the Arlington National Cemetery that was pushed aside when she tried to stop a gang of orange sociopathic bloat bag followers from filming a political spot there, which is against government regulations. She will not press charges, even though she could. And she's afraid that there would be repercussions, not from the Army or National Cemetery director, but from the orange sociopathic bloat bag hate followers who, you know, say, "We know where you live. We're going to come for you." They're always doing this. And anyway, the Army itself commended this employee from standing her ground, as far as she could. And then these jerks that are the followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag just physically pushed her aside so they could film their election spot for the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Oh boy, I am so glad that he will be losing this election coming up November 5th. Whew, deep breath, another sip. Horrible news. There were, historical horrible news. There were more accomplices in the murder of Emmett Till than the two a-hole white guys that were acquitted by an all-white jury. A so-called journalist, his name is William Bradford Huey, capital Huie, withheld information that he got from the two creeps, the white creeps, after he interviewed them post-acquittal. The added information would have endangered his being able to sell his story. And it did come out in Look magazine, which was a large-size glossy magazine, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. It's defunct now, but his story was sold to them, and it was entitled The Real Murder of Emmett Till Story. I think that's what it was titled. But Huey's own research notes were recently released by the descendants of a lawyer in the case. The notes that Huey took showed that others were involved in the murder. Huey was also seeking a movie deal. Carolyn Bryant, Bryant, accused Till of accosting her as she worked in a convenience store on August 24th, 1955. Bryant's husband, Roy, and a number of accomplices abducted Emmett Till at gunpoint from Till's uncle's house and tortured and killed him and dumped his body into the Tallahatchie River, where he was found. Wasn't that the title of a song? Back in the early 70s? Tallahatchie. Anyway, where his body was found. His mother, who lived up in Chicago, along with Emmett, he was down visiting some cousins. She decided to have an open casket memorial. It was tough to see, to look at, but she decided it was better for the world to see what these white guys and others did to her son Emmett. Oh, boy. I'm glad that the South is not the South of that era. The Emmett Till archives at Florida. God, these little gas bubbles come up. The Emmett Till archives at Florida State University has been the recipient of all information about the case. Deborah Watts, Till's cousin, is the co-founder of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and they donate money to various causes involving racism, and they keep the Emmett Till archives funded at Florida State. And I doubt if many high school students I think it's the junior year in which they study U.S. history. I doubt that many high school students in this country know about Emmett Till and other horrible things like the Tulsa Race Massacre and others, because it's CRT, and especially in Republican-controlled states, they don't want kids feeling uncomfortable about learning about this stuff. Okay, Republicans. Okay, another sip. My throat is drying out. Bad Texas news. Attorney General Ken Paxton, a criminal himself, used his troopers to raid the houses of older Latino organizers who were trying to register more people in the Latino communities to vote. Register that they don't want Latinos voting. They tend to vote Democrats. We got to stop that. It is another voter suppression effort by Texas Republicans. Back in 1929, LULAC, capital L-U-L-A-C, was formed. And I apologize. I have a space left. And I was going to figure out or look up or Google what LULAC actually stands for. You know, Latinos United, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But next show, I will have that for all of my listeners. Okay, Roman Palomares, LULAC's national president now, said, "This is point-blank voter intimidation, and LULAC will fight for the right of every Latino to exercise their right to vote." Ken Paxton, he weaseled out of all of the illegal things that he was involved with, and probably an all-white Republican jury declared that he was innocent of all charges. He is a criminal, if there ever was one. Bad news. In March of 2020, the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag approved an agreement with the Taliban. He was the president at the time, he approved an agreement with the Taliban, who was not the government of Afghanistan at the time, for all U.S. forces to leave the country by May 1st of 2021. Okay. He sealed the deal over the telephone with Abdul Ghani Baradar, a co-founder of the Taliban. The orange sociopathic bloat bag celebrated President Biden's, after 2021, he celebrated his sticking to the agreement. And now, one of the election points that the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his followers bring up is how Biden is responsible for the deaths of 15 servicemen when America was pulling out of Afghanistan at the airport there in Kabul. A suicide vest went off, and which resulted in the deaths of these 15 servicemen. And of course, the orange sociopathic bloat bag now blames President Biden, even though it was the orange sociopathic bloat bag that consummated the deal with the Taliban and essentially turned over Afghanistan to the Taliban government. Bad environmental news. The International Recycling Group, IRG, has been awarded a large government loan guarantee for their plastics recycling plant near Erie, Pennsylvania. Environmental groups such as Beyond Plastics, Greenpeace, the Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC, have all urged Department of Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm to reverse its July decision to commit $186.2 million of the Inflation Reduction Act funding to IRG. Mitch Hecht, capital HECHT, chairman of IRG, claims that the plastic burning can be a substitute for coal burning in steel mills. I'll have more to say about plastic burning a little later on in this show. This very show, or this very rant, which is what it is, actually. Okay, they're claiming burning plastic can be a substitute for coal burning in steel mills. Okay, not true. Pyrolysis, Pyrolysis, aka advanced recycling, which it's called by the plastics industry. Hey, ExxonMobil, are you listening to this? ExxonMobil claims circularity, which is one of the catchwords put out by the environmental groups, which is something we strive for. And if we could have circularity, that would be a good thing. That would mean that products that are manufactured from raw materials and then discarded could be treated in some way or recycled and used over again. That's what circularity is. It's not this. Okay? Pyrolysis is oxygen-free and high-temp melting down of plastics and breaking apart these long chains of, I'm off my notes. Brain freeze on what these long chains of polymers are. Okay. Now, it's oxygen-free, so technically it's not combustion. If this works like it should work, high temperatures and oxygen-free, the plastic will melt. And these polymers will be broken up into their constituent parts. The bad thing is there are gases emitted, CO2, methane, and others that I'm not sure of. But the plastic and oil and gas industries claim that these emitted gases can be collected somehow and then turned into like aviation fuel or other useful fuels. That could be true up to a certain point. But the oil and gas and plastics energy are constantly touting the benefits of pyrolysis as the solution to Earth's plastic problem. It's a scam, essentially, foisted off on the public by the oil and gas and plastics industry. The people that lied to us back in the late 60s about how CO2 was not raising the temperature of our atmosphere. These companies lie to us almost as much as the orange sociopathic bloat bag does. Don't believe anything that the oil and gas industry, especially ExxonMobil, says without outside third-party there's a word I'm looking for. It'll pop into my head at some point. Okay. Good historical news. Finally, some good news. The non-Jewish, non-Christian peoples in the British Mandate area are Arabs. Now, the British Mandate area dates from about 1920 to 1948, when Israel declared itself an independent state. Okay. The British Mandate area is essentially the borders of Israel/Palestine as demarcated in 1918. Okay. Okay. The non-Jewish, non-Christian peoples in the British Mandate are Arabs, ethnically, linguistically, and religiously. All, before the World War I, were under Ottoman Empire control until 1918. Up until the mid-1960s, they referred to themselves as South Syrian Arabs. The Jews of British Mandate Palestine referred to themselves as Palestinians. The Soviet KGB convinced in 1964 Yasser Arafat and his Palestine Liberation Organization to rebrand the Arabs as Palestinians to strengthen their claim to the land within Israel's borders as Palestinian land. Okay, and so KGB interference in this whole setup in what we now call Palestine has done nothing to bring peace to the area. They just mucked it all up. Not as bad as the British mucked it all up, but they had their fingers in the crap pie of the Middle East. Good news for singles. A record 30% of Americans live alone. I'm not sure whether that's actually good news or not, but there are good news aspects to that. Okay, a record 30% of Americans live alone. Only 37% of Americans ages 25 to 49 were married with kids. Okay, that's down from 67% in 1970. Restaurants, this is the good news part of it, are noticing a solo dining trend, and they're accommodating it. A lot of restaurants are putting smaller tables, smaller booths to accommodate dating couples or single Americans to eat. You know, if you're single, you should not be ashamed of it anymore to go into a restaurant and sit at a table by yourself and order the food that you like. Great. That's the good news. Good news. Okay. And I've talked about this on a number of occasions, not recently, but 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Cell phones are not linked to brain cancer. The World Health Organization has confirmed this in a major study. Cell phones emit non-ionizing radiation. That is the long wavelengths on the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, short waves, X-rays, red end of the spectrum. Okay, what's the highest one? Cosmic rays. And then we get that little part in the middle of it that are visible to our eyes. And then still going down to longer and longer waves, we get into the ultraviolet and the long waves, which are used by radio, television, and cell phones. They do not break up the cells in our bodies and do not break up our DNA or, other things in our cells that might, if disturbed sufficiently, lead to cancer. They don't do that. Okay, that's good news. Okay. All right, bad news. A group of 7 Republican-led MAGA states filed a lawsuit to block a new student loan relief plan that the Biden administration planned to roll out this fall. The set of student loan relief proposals have gone through a lengthy legal review by administration lawyers, but have yet to be finalized. These 7 states would like to see the Department of Education that would implement the loan relief program to be eliminated, as per the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bags Project 2025. Okay, this is a beseeching. Please, President Biden, let Ukraine do what's best for them with the weapons we are giving him. I'm having a brain freeze on the Ukraine's leader right now. God bless. I hate brain freezes. Zelensky. Okay, let him do with what he wants with these long-range missiles that we're giving him. Putin's reaction be damned. Oh, I know. He will call us names. We can't have that. Ukraine can win with these long-range missiles if they start firing them at Russian air bases and oil depots. Let him use them, for God's sakes. There is, besides the orange sociopathic bloat bag, a definite pro-Russian, pro-Putin wing of the MAGA Republicans. They seem to think that the Russians can, with their help, always keep them in power in the United States. They're trying to help with their election interference people. They're trying to help Trump. Excuse me. I didn't mean to say the T word, the orange sociopathic bloat bag. They are trying their best to keep him in power because they know that he and the Republicans are friendly to Russia. Why is the mainstream media giving the orange sociopathic bloat bag a pass on his age and declining mental health? He goes off script at every rally, losing his train of thought and babbling incoherently at times. And, according to the Daily Mail, the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bags campaign is in chaos and rife with infighting amongst his campaign workers. Good news. Let's see, I'm ending the show with two good news. President Biden will block the sale of United States steel to Japan's Nippon Steel. Jobs will remain in Pittsburgh. The Treasury Department-led Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. Did not recommend that Biden okay this deal. Okay? Good news. Amanda Jones was targeted by vicious threats from followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. She decided to fight back. Good. She was a middle school librarian in Watson, Louisiana, that deep red state. The fans of the orange sociopathic bloat bag are sprouting like weeds, have sprouted like weeds there. She was accused of being a pedophile and a groomer. She got more online threats since the summer of 2022 when she spoke out against book banning at a meeting at the local library. She took two men to court for defamation. Yay! I hope she wins. I will keep you updated on her court case. The group that these two men were part of is Citizens for a New Louisiana, a hard right-wing, hate-filled group that that are followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. And, okay, this is a final riff. Ever since the orange sociopathic bloat bag came down the golden escalator behind his rent-a-wife, and he sort of transformed politics in this country, and he kind of, through his own hatefulness and stupidity, allowed his followers who have hate in their souls already to be like this. It's okay to threaten people with death and stockpile AK-47s and go online and threaten librarians and other liberals. He made it okay for a lot of people to do that, which they had a tendency to do anyway. He encourages this with his own hate-filled rants, and that's it. I need another water, and here's my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Especially pet your cats. For those YouTubers that are watching, that picture on my t-shirt is me as a freshman in high school at our 50th reunion up in Sonora. I forget who had them made up, but he or she made one up for everybody that attended. It's great. And underneath my picture is the caption, Mr. Wonderful. Yay! Okay, I'm going to do this again next week, whether you're ready for it or not. So here we go. Another week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.